comprend que la jeunesse africaine parle une même voix et a enclenché donc sa dynamique pour l'avenir de notre continent. Que Dieu bénisse la jeunesse, que Dieu bénisse l'Afrique. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Je cède la parole au secrétaire général afin de nous faire part de la résolution des travaux de la réunion des jeunes leaders. À vous la parole.
Thank you so much. I take off from where the President of the Pan-African Youth Union ended to present to you the discussions that the youth had yesterday. We had a very long discussion and we came up with some recommendations and requests for facilitation by ministers responsible for youth in favor of the national coordinating institutions in our respective member states as stipulated by Article 12 of the African Youth Charter. And the Official Minister, I would want to read some of the recommendations that came up from the discussion. The meeting of National Youth Councils and equivalent national coordinating mechanisms of African Union member states. Calls on ministers of youth to support the upholding of African Union Executive Council decision EX.CL CCE 292 that reaffirms the Pan-African Youth Union as the continental coordinating institution for youth organizations in Africa. We further call for the upholding of decision EXCL 468 of 2009 that upholds the Pan-African Youth Union as the continental coordinating institution for youth organizations in Africa and as the focal agency for youth to the African Union on youth matters. We request member states to follow the example of the Kingdom of Morocco by supporting the Pan-African Youth Union and the national coordinating mechanism in accordance with the Heads of States Declaration in Malawi through decision AU-DC 363 of 2011. Strongly encourage member states that have not signed and ratified the African Youth Charter to consider doing so strongly. Further encourage the appropriation and domestication of the African Youth Charter as an overarching national youth policy by all member states. We call for the establishment of a joint accountability mechanism between the National Youth Coordinating Mechanism and the ministers responsible for youth to follow up on the progress of the full implementation of the African Youth Charter and report periodically. The youth calls upon member states to support the institutional capacity development of the Pan-African Youth Union and ensure a sound working mechanism between the African Union Commission as well as youth coordinating mechanisms and national youth councils and equivalent structures across the continent. We encourage member states to welcome and subscribe to the African peer review mechanism on domestication and appropriation and implementation of the African Youth Charter. We express the desire that the African Union to activate and reinforce the African Youth Fund. We We emphasize for awareness and visibility on the African Youth Charter and establishment of intervention on the effective implementation of the African Youth Charter in consultation with youth. We urge member states to ensure meaningful mainstreaming of youth in the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area through national youth coordinating mechanisms, national youth councils, and equivalent structures. We encourage member states to renew commitment to support youth development by recording the Malabo Declaration on accelerating youth empowerment for sustainable development and calling for member states to resource national youth coordinating platforms with at least 1% of their government's dedicated budget committed to youth development across our member states. We further call upon member states to scale up mechanisms that provide access to youth to financing, implementation of pro-corp and pro-youth policies, taking into account the unique constraints and potential of young people, and bearing in mind that young people are further marginalized and hindered by lack of targeted financial instruments to enable access to finance, reduce cost of financing to encourage growth and prosperity of young people. In conclusion, the National Youth Council and equivalent coordinating mechanisms of African Union member states through the Pan-African Youth Union congratulate the government of the Kingdom of Morocco and the ministers responsible for youth for their dedication and commitment to development. We further commend the efforts toward building resilience and harmonizing the youth development ecosystem in Africa through their partnership with the Pan-African Youth Union and the National Youth Coordinating Mechanisms across Africa. The youth reaffirm our commitment to complement the efforts of government toward the realization of the aspirations of Agenda 2063 in building a progressive, stable, peaceful, and resilient continent. We further reaffirm our commitment to mobilize youth and youth organizations to contribute meaningfully to the